And tonight we are going to talk about the calmness of being alone. And I have to tell you before we start that how I came to this lecture tonight and why I chose this topic, and because I think that the lecture was constructed into my own research, my internal search for this. And it all begins, I kind of went to Kardec's books, I went to the gospel, I went to our past lectures. I think I went all over the place, and I had that blank canvas and I couldn't get off it. And I said, well, I think I'm not going to do anything. I'll put a black canvas, a white canvas there, and that's it. But then I started going deeper into myself, and I started thinking about the interaction between people. And what bothers me nowadays, and it may be because I'm too old, but it is a lot of the pressure of social media, that you have to be always online, you have to be liking things, and you have to be present, and you have to participate in this, and you have to be with that people. And I started thinking about this, and why is it kind of bothering me? And I then started thinking, oh, maybe it's technology. Technology is bothering me. I don't want the cell phone anymore. I don't want the computer anymore. And then I start thinking, oh, okay, but let's think about the benefits of technology, right? So some of the benefits, it's, thanks God we have technology, because we can talk to our families when they are away, and it makes the world so closer, right? Then has allowed us to develop in different areas of science, right? This is thanks to technology as well. Then contributed a lot to the efficiency in our workspace, right? I remember the time that we still have to write memos and send it in paper to other departments, and then wait for the reply to come in a memo that was written in the typewriter, right? So that was those things. Well, perhaps you don't remember that because you didn't live this, but yeah, but some of us did. So we know the benefit that technology brought to us in the workspace. And then, and not even to say the capacity of communicating and having things that happen in the other side of the world, and we are knowing about them, and we are able to make an opinion like minutes after it's happened. So I don't blame technology at all. I mean, I am one of the, and funny thing is, when I was young, I was training people to use email. Now children know how to use mail since they are in a toddler, right? They know. Yeah, they teach you, basically. And I was the young one, teaching the older people to use that thing. And imagine how. So I really recognize that technology is a blessing for humankind. But then again, what is it that was bothering me? And then I started making a list of what bothers me. So what bothers me is when I go to a restaurant and I see 5 people sitting together, and each of them have their cell phones in hand, and they are browsing or liking or whatever, and not talking to each other. Instead of enjoying the company, they are using their technology things. It bothers me when I am home with my husband in the living room and he picks up his cell phone and starts using social media. What I want to do is grab him, the cell phone and everything, and throw out of the window. this really bothers me. I'm there and I can talk to. Then when I see that people don't have time to talk to you over the phone, but they are constantly posting things on Facebook, on WhatsApp, or whatever. But if you try to schedule a call, oh, for God's sake, forget about. See, those things bother me. And then that urgency to be connected, that was bothering me. And then also, not only this, but people need to be happy all the time. You're not allowed to be sad. If you kind of go to Facebook, just as an example, and you put a sad face or something, people, you are supposed to be happy. You are supposed to be in a beautiful place that you can post a picture. And, well, we're not always happy. We're not always enjoying whatever. We have our moments, right? And then you may say, well, this is not because of technology, Rosanna, and you are absolutely right. It's not because of technology. So what it is then? What it is that causes this? And I think that one of the things is because our ability to connect and to communicate got so enhanced that it became globalized. And all of a sudden, I have global interests. I have global desires. I have to participate globally. I have to be, so instead of being me, I'm trying to be everything else. And I think that's the origin of the problem, and that's a little overwhelming. So that's how I started researching, and that is, it worked. So we became people with globalized interests. We became people that are too knowledgeable. We have information like all the time. We receive information when you are working, when you are home, when you are studying, when you are walking, because you are connected all the time, most of us, right? So I found then this really interesting video it's in Portuguese, that's why I'm not bringing it here, but I'll share with you the link if you are interested in seeing this. And this person, a psychologist or a therapist of some kind, and spiritist, she was exploring what is the meaning of globalization for people now. And she referred to a book, this book. In Portuguese is O Despertar do Espírito. In English it could be translated as the awakening of the spirit or something like that. And I came to the book, and I must say that the whole lecture that we are going to see tonight, it's based only on the first portion of the first chapter. So deep this book is. So just to give you the general idea. And then it explores exactly this. What does this globalization, the communication, being part of this whole bigger thing, means to us?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's a good one. And then, so we are invited all the time to participate on these things, to be engaged on that movement, to go to that event. And Facebook now or other social media, they even tell you now what events are happening close to you. So, geez, I don't have time for doing anything. If I want to be busy, well, I can be busy 100% of the time. And most of us end up doing that. We end up using our time on those things. And then the question is, Globalization allowed for our interests to be part of the whole world. But are these really our interests? Is this really something that I want? Is this really something that's meaningful to me? Or I'm just doing that because I was invited? Because the invitation came from a cool person, or because it is a cool thing that's happening now, I must be there. That's one of the questions that I started thinking of. And do we really care? I'm not saying that talking about climate change or poverty in the third world or the wars that are happening or the refugee problems or things like that are not important. Really, I'm not. I do care about those things and I do think that they are important. What I'm talking is it really my interest? Can I do anything about it? Or I'm just being part of it because I'm conducted to be a part of it. And then, one other question that came to my mind when I was reading this is, maybe it is all of that, and it is also that I don't want to be alone, that I don't want to spend time with myself. So I need to be busy, because this way I don't have time to spend with myself. And I will always be happy because I have other people with me.
Happy but lost.
Kind of. So, and what's the danger on that? Is that the communication flow at this speed may lead us to robotic behavior.
Me?
Thank you.
So cute. Me.
And we start liking things, we start participating on things, we start caring about things that really we don't care about. We are not really participating.
Because you don't know what to do.
Exactly. You're just doing things, but it is robotic. You stop thinking. You stop really thinking about what you really want and what you don't want. So when we allow ourselves to keep doing things like unstoppable, what we are really doing is that we are running from ourselves. And this doesn't just need to be about social media. Some people work like 14, 16 hours a day. Some other people would go and be surfing the internet for that period of time. Some other people will be playing games. And now those games, they have championship, they have play together and whatever you are. One person is here, the other is in England, the other is in China, and you are playing together. And you are doing things together. But in fact, you are not together with anybody.
And you're lost in the dark.
And you are not alone with yourself, not spending enough time with yourself. And then what happens is that we create noise, or we allow for other things, for external factors, to create noise. And it's not noise of music playing or traffic, or this is not the kind of noise. It's a noise, an internal noise. And that internal noise becomes the normal state of things. I need that. If I don't have that, oh, I'm not at peace. I need this. I need to have people around. I need to go out for shopping. I need to surf in the internet. I need to play my game. I need. And you don't stop. So, why should we stop the noise? Why should we think that it is important not to do anything? And it does not to do anything doesn't mean that we are not doing anything. It's just stopping the noise, reducing that demand that you need to do things. And why? And then Joanna de Angelis says that modern life, or over-technological life, with its inhuman consequences, it slowly transforms the human being into a real robot, distorting his feelings, which become repetitive automation, without the emotions becoming part of his daily agenda. So I don't care how I feel. I will just do. And why is that? Because facing yourself, your feelings, your emotions is not an easy task to do. And if you have all the reasons in the world not to do that, isn't it great? Isn't it wonderful? I don't have to pay attention to my emotions because I'm too busy. And I like being busy. It's normal being busy. Everybody is busy. So it's normal. It's okay. But then, is that by behaving like that, we put our attention in our search for happiness in that ephemeral happiness of people liking your Facebook post. And I've heard of some teenagers that they say, oh, I posted something and you only have 15 likes. You go, oh really? Is this what it is about? You must have this recognition. You must have people liking what you do. It is. For me, it is for me.
I like one of these things, and I think I'm out of the contest because, it's. I don't know.
Well, then you share my thoughts, right? So, most of the times, this behavior is based on the need to be with people, to being accepted, to being part of something, to belonging. Because we are gregarious or whatever, gregarious beings. We need company. We need people. We need a hug. We need to share with people things. And this is reflected when a teenager says, oh, I posted something and only 15 people liked it. But is this the right way of connecting? Is this really a connection? That's what bothered me. And then, even more, when you are focused on this relationship, this technological relationship, is it real? Or you can be whatever you want. I can be the smartest person on earth. A bit of researching on Google, and I can do the smartest quotes. I can always have the smartest opinions. But is this really me? So people start not only, we want so much to be together with other people that sometimes we allow ourselves to put on our masks and behave like that. Always projecting. Always on the outside. Always in appearance. And that's really complicated in terms of human beings. To fully relate to a human being, we need to deepen our connections. And by deepening our connections, it's like a marriage. When you are just dating somebody, everything is perfect, right? But when you put the two toothbrush together, and you start to having to wake up together, have dinner together, and I'm not in a good mood today, oh, I'm feeling horrible today, then it's when you really establish the relationship. That's when it really sinks in. That's when you fully relate to the other person. But when you are allowed to do and to be whoever you want, and nobody is going to check in, because if you start being fake with your husband, you can do it once, twice, thrice, but at some point, come on, that's not really it, right? And things will go to a deeper level. But with technology and with the relationships at a distance, you can't see that. You can't get to that level. And how does it comes to, like, not only you, but the society? The society then, when you meet people, or you have a party, so we all go to the party. What happens in the party? You have 12 people in the party. To really talk to anybody? To really have time to talk to people? You will talk about the weather, you'll talk about the rain, the last trip you made, something that's in the news. But you're not going to go deeper, because the moment will not allow for that. And instead of being together and connected to people, what is this causing? Us to be lonely. And that loneliness is something that for most people is scary, because it comes with all this kind of heavy burden of sadness. And I would like to point one other thing that Carl Jung said, and I think it's really important. Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views which others find inadmissible. And this, for me, is one thing that happens all the time when we are playing with social media. We have to fit in. So we have to be like everybody else. We cannot have opinions that are too bold, or we will attract the other side of their impressions, right? Criticizing and animosity. And that's not what we want, not what we seek. But actually, by not expressing ourselves the way that we really are and we really think, causes that feeling of loneliness. Although we are part of a group, or many nowadays, right? So let's try then to identify why is it that we resist so much to stop the noise and being alone. What is it that makes us want to be busier and busier and busier? Why don't we try to be alone? What are the factors that cause that? And one of the things that it's important in that moment is that we forget that we are what? Am I this body?
Immortal.
We are immortal spirits. We are not this. We are experiencing this incarnation in this body. But I'm not it. So what happens when we forget that? We get confused and ego comes. Whose play is that? It's the ego play. It's not a mortal spirit. And this causes that we confuse ourselves with the ego. We forget that we are immortal spirits, that the values and the faith and the love and the happiness is where? Inside, not outside. That's because we get confused. And when we get confused, we may think that we are doing the right thing of being busy all the time, being with people all the time, virtually or in parties, or we may even think that we are doing right because we are confusing ourselves with the ego. Then another factor that is very important, and most of us are afraid of being alone because we are gregarious beings. We need people, we need relationship. So we get to the point of being afraid of being alone. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to live alone. I want a boyfriend. I want this person to be by my side. I want my family. I want this. I want that. And this may cause the fear is, to give you an example, it is fear of not being accepted. And then I accept whatever, because I fear not being accepted. So whatever comes, I'm in. I fear of not being loved. I fear not being loved because I don't love myself. So I fear not being loved. I don't recognize that God loves me. I have other spirits that love me, but that doesn't matter. I fear not being loved. I fear losing. Losing what? Losing people, losing money, losing power. I fear. And because I fear, I put myself in a situation of accepting everything. And this can really paralyze us and can put ourselves in a place of not doing anything for ourselves to become better. Because sometimes, or most of the times, if you want an omelette, what you have to do? Break the eggs. But if you are paralyzed by fear, you will not break the eggs. And that's why you see people in relationships that are not healthy. And they keep going and keep going and keep going. And why is it? It's fear. Oops, no, come back. And then I will cite Jung again. He says that people will do anything, no matter how absurd it is, to avoid facing their own souls. So we run. From whom? Ourselves. And we have all the instruments nowadays to do that. It's very, very simple and easy. And we don't need to pay money. So it's even easier. It's at a touch of a button. Literally. So, what then? What about if we create time and space to be alone? Can we do that? In other words, when I talk about space, it is because you need to create this space in your life. So it's not just about the clock. It's about an internal space that will allow you to work on that. And this is a quote from this book. And it says, "The psychological being needs a mental space to find himself that would allow for serene reflection and conduct evaluation." Whose conduct? Our own. By careful self-analysis, which is only possible in solitude. If I'm distracted with the noise, it's not possible to create this space because I'm distracted. I'm not focused, I'm not concentrated, I'm not allowing myself to go there. And the lack of time for self-realization leads to anxiety that is responsible for dissatisfaction and later corresponding behaviors. And are we not seeing people now anxious, but in a pathological way? I'm not only talking about a feeling. I'm talking about people have anxiety crisis. They have fear of going outside. They get into depression and other states of the mind. A lot of that is rooted on not being able to be alone and face yourself and face the things that you need to. And then the more you reach outside, the more you project those things outside, the more alone, the more lonely you feel. And that leads to sadness. So why am I bringing this that seems more like a psychological lecture to our meeting? Why is it important for us that are worried about our spiritual side, our spiritual development, our inner transformation? Why is it important? Because it is a therapeutic prescription. Not only physical time is needed, but especially conscious time that which would provide serenity, which enables discernment to understand existential challenges and confront them with balance, without guilt or rebellion. The only way that we can overcome our difficulties is if, one, we acknowledge that we have them, and two, we face them. Nobody is perfect. And most of us thinks that that's very easy, and we say that all the time, but we don't really actually do it in our lives. We are not perfect, and that's okay. That's why we are here. That's why we are in this planet. It is okay to not be perfect. But we need to, if we are willing to become better spirits, we need to place a step forward. We need to step forward. And then it is in silence that one can find God, enjoy peace, unravel enigmas, and self-improve. That is why it is so important to talk about being alone, to talk about calming your mind, calming your heart, being in touch with yourself again. Because it's when we go deeper into ourselves that we truly, deeply connect with God. And we need to allow time for that. And in our busy lives, We don't have much time for that. We don't allow much time for that. And the prescription continues. The quest for solitude is a form of dissociation from everyone and everything temporarily. It is temporarily. It's not going to be forever. I'm not talking about becoming a hermit. In order to understand the emptiness of attachments and the torments from the possession of relative meanings. What does it mean?
Profound.
When we are creating needs for ourselves, I need to be there, and because I need to be there, I need to buy a new clothes. And because I need to buy a new clothes, I need more money. And because I need my money, I need to work harder. And because I need to work harder, I don't have time for my family. And then I start going to social media so that I can be loved and people can accept me and I can feel that I belong. And this is a circle. And we create more and more and more and more needs of what?
Relative.
I was coming back Saturday from a rugby game, and we were walking from BC place to here, to my place. And in the way, we found, it looked like it was cloudy, it was dense, it was like very strange. And then we started to smell wood burning. And it was actually a house burning to the ground. Nothing saved. This was in downtown West Side, you know about it. And I was doing my lecture. And I thought, wow, these people lost everything. Burned to the ground in a matter of hours. What is really important? The possessions that we have? No. What we have to remember, we are immortal spirits. The day I'll leave this place, the only things I'll have with me are the things that I have inside. Everything else will stay here. And I know how hard it is to say that and how hard it is to apply that. Because I need a new computer. I need a new clothes. Because I work. I need to work fine. I need to present myself properly. So I need a new clothing. I need a new computer because I do present things here and my computer is too slow. And I need this and I need that. And we justify everything. All kinds of attachment. We can justify each and every one of them. And then we forget that the greatest treasure is the identification of the self with all the vital contents that it conducts. Acquisition that can only be achieved through enormous sacrifices. Can you think of which sacrifices we are referring to here? What are the sacrifices that we have to make in order to really get in contact and rediscover our true self? Well, perhaps I won't go to that party that I have next night. Perhaps I'll stay home studying. Perhaps I'll not go to the movie theater to watch that movie. And instead, I'll come here to watch a movie that will discuss about spiritual things afterwards. Sacrifices even deeper are when you have to realize that you are not that good. Sorry, I'm not that good. I thought I was. It looked like I was, but I'm not. And I have those things that I'm not content about, that I would like to change, but I don't have the strength. It's so hard. It's so difficult. It's hard to say no to people. We're always trying to please people. It's hard to say no. It's hard to be true to yourself and say, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I don't want to. Doesn't mean anything to me. How many of us do that? How frequently do we do that? And then we can go talking about the sacrifices and the difficulties of doing that. We all know about it. We have been discussing about all those things. But then, if we really want to become better, interacting socially in a better way, in a different level, we surely, truly should be trying to do this. To become more and more in contact with ourselves, with our true self, not the ego, with our immortal spirits, with who we are. And if we do that, then we'll be able to project to society good things. Not things that will just make people like me because, oh, I'm cool. No. I will spread around me in the society. When I mean society, everybody thinks, oh, I need to be great. I need to be recognized worldwide. No. You have to touch people that are within your reach. This is how society really changes. Because this effect will spread. That's what we can do. That's what we should be doing after we rediscover ourselves. And then we could be going to a place that we have been talking since a long time, which is to develop our virtues. Because then we'll be able to really face our vices and defects, to face and to develop our virtues. So let us just remind ourselves of something. What did I do? Voltei tudo, né? Just a moment. Let us remind ourselves that the virtues, they are the children of love. And let us remind ourselves what love is from Paul of Tarsus' point of view. We have seen this before. And from all of this, that love is patient, love is kind and is not jealous, does not brag and is not arrogant, does not act unbecomingly, it does not seek its own, it is not provoked, does not take into account a wrong suffered, does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the right, with the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. For today, what is important? When we are going in this travel or in this journey, to allowing ourselves to be alone so that we can be in touch with ourselves and rediscover ourselves, it is very important to remember to be kind to ourselves. Because most of the time we are very critics. We really criticize ourselves to a level that we don't do to any other person. So it's very important to remember to be kind with ourselves. And when I think that it's also important not to be jealous, is because jealousy has in itself something that it is, you are always comparing you or what you have to somebody else, or to something that somebody else has. Either money, power, things, or people, doesn't matter. And if we are going to embark in this journey to be alone, we shouldn't think very much of that. Doesn't matter what everybody else has or thinks, or it only matters what you will discover about yourself. So that's why I think that for this journey, it's important to remember Paul and to remember that we need to be really kind to ourselves. And when I was watching the video that I talked to you about before, the psychiatrist or the therapist showed her point of view on how can we embark on this journey to being alone and to facing ourselves. What are the topics or the questions that we should treat in order to be able to be alone in a healthy way, not with that feeling of sadness that we talked about before, but being alone consciously, so that we can face ourselves and become better and transform into something else that we want. And she provided some steps. So I must say that this is not my area of knowledge, so I apologize if, psychologically speaking, some of the concepts are not complete, or because this is not my area. But I thought that the topics that she brought were really, really important for our discussion today. So I will start with the first one. And the first one is to face our childhood trauma. And when she points it out, I thought, oh, well, I'm not talking about this. This is too harsh, too deep, too psychological for me to talk about. But it is not, in fact. Because parents, they touch their children's life in a very deep and profound way. The trauma begins because entering this world is not easy. And it's the first cut or the first break that we have. We are very comfortable in the womb, right? We are warm. We have a deep, deep, deep relationship with our mothers. And then all of a sudden you have to breathe, you have to cry, you have to be part of this world, and people are touching you and you don't know what to do. So there is this trauma, and there is also things that we lived when we were children. And this is important to face. It's important to remember those things without the pain, getting rid of this pain. The other thing that she talks about is to be aware of our projections. That's exactly what the point that we started, right? I'm always projecting things, good or bad. If I say, I don't like this person, oh, this irritates me, what's it telling you? Well, look carefully, because there's something there that you have and that you don't like. And the same thing with being good. We want to show off that we are good. We want to be seen as being good. Be careful, be mindful, because this also creates dependencies. And it's very dangerous as well. We can get into relationships that are not healthy and other things. The other thing is face the fear. Loneliness can be a bridge to being alone happily. first time that you be alone, that you feel loneliness, it's going to be very hard, really hard, because it comes with that feeling of sadness. But if you face it, and if you go through, and you can employ some of from the video that we saw, getting hobbies and trying to do other things so that you can treat yourself. For me, what works the best is pampering myself. Going for a massage or going to do my hair. Oh, that works wonders for me. Everybody's different, right? But you have to find something that will help you to create the bridge from loneliness to being alone, and creating the space for you to face yourself, for you to be happy to be with yourself, for you liking to be with yourself. The other thing is, she used a term that's a psychological term. She used missed child, which is that part of you that you don't do frequently. Just laugh. Just be spontaneous. Just say things that come to your mind, not in terms of hurting other people, but just enjoying the moment. How many times we don't do that? We don't allow ourselves. Oh, because we are serious people, I can't do that. I can't allow myself, you see. No, that's not acceptable. Oh, it is. It should be. Because that makes us happy. Is there anything that's more enjoyable than when you are with a friend and you both start laughing for anything? With no reason. And then you cannot stop laughing. Isn't that wonderful? Well, I cannot remember. Oh, I had it with my sisters when I were in Brazil. I was very fortunate. And the feeling is wonderful if you allow it to fill you up. So do that. In that journey, you might also meet your selfish child. Oh, I want this for me. I'm not sharing this with anybody. Or the envy child. I want that for me. I want this. That's part of the process. We all have that. But if we decide to go for that, we will find the happy child as well. And that will be lovely. And live life passionately. And then you may ask, oh no, that's going too far, Rosanna. Yeah. We have been discussing that passions are not good. That material passions, we have to combat them. And then you come with that you have to live passionately. Make sense of things. That doesn't make sense. But what I really want to convey here with this message is that will to live, that will to be yourself, to do things, to create something. And I cannot think of a better example to convey that message than Jesus. Because if you think with me, he fully, totally, deeply believed his ideas, his ideals, which, by the way, were the Lord's ideals, right? He lived and acted during his whole life based on that. He understood his mission, he knew, he had the knowledge, he had the wisdom, and he loved it. the ideals compassionately, fully, and he acted accordingly. During his whole life, he also exercised the benefits of solitude. There are several passages where he recluded himself to be alone. And finally, he gave his life for his ideals. How many of us would do the same? So that's the message that I want to convey with that. To live passionately. But when you are in your way, remember, use your free will to live, to be led by kindness, beauty, internal beauty, love, and peace. Remember to be self-forgiving and compassionate with yourself and others all the time. And be patient and perseverant, because this is not happening from one day to the other, definitely. So we need perseverance and we need to be patient. So that's where I leave you, with the invitation to consciously stop the noise, the external noise, and embark in the adventure of solitude. So, thank you.